So you can see there, it's February 16th. It's the Friday, 2 days after the St. Valentine's Day shooting in Parkland. You know, it's a lot of people will say, to pray for these people, and I agree with that. The left will call you crazy. They'll call you delusional. But yet somehow they think guns can get up and shoot themselves and pull their own triggers. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But here in this clip, one of the hosts here of Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade, keeps saying that you hear him confess to the shootings, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or trying to detract from these poor people's families' lives, which are wrecked by a sociopathic mass shooter. But you don't actually hear him admit to it, right? I'm gonna show you the clip, and then you'll hear Kilmeade say he admits to it, and that's what they're going on. There's actually video of one of the girls that was at the school taken by a reporter from Houston who was in Fort Lauderdale following the Houston Astros spring training camp, or pre-spring training camp. And he went to the scene and he got interviewed. He got an interview with a girl that the channel that he works for in Houston didn't air, where she says she was actually talking to the shooter on the way out of the school and heard more gunshots. So that video again is on InfoWars. If you're interested in looking into that, but that's an official. That guy that did the interview is from Houston. He is a sportscaster there, and the channel never aired it. But here you're going to hear Brian Kilmeade say that the shooter is admitting that he committed the crime. So we'll go ahead and play this.
First look at the faces of the victims of the horrific high school shooting.
Where Nicholas Cruz admits that he was the gunman.
Are you Nicholas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
You are charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder.
YouTuber Ben Benite alerting the FBI last September about a comment posted on one of his videos.
I've never seen a post that disturbing or that brazen.
The FBI was unable to further identify the person who actually made the comment.
There were some junior ROTC students at the school who actually helped save their classmates.
Brought the kids back to the classroom. Me and him put up the Kevlar walls. We took some of the tables that we use as desks and set them up for cover.
Okay, so I'm using all of that stuff as regular fair use, just so that I can demonstrate that Brian Kilmeade is saying that the video that they're showing is saying that he is admitting to the crime, the shooter, Nicholas Cruz. And he doesn't, not in that clip. And I want to see the clip where he does and admit to it. And like I said, I believe he was a shooter. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't a second shooter based strictly on the report from the Houston TV channel reporter.
That demons.
It's difficult to try to do this stuff so close, but the left, first thing they always do is we got to get rid of the guns. We got to do something about the guns, inanimate objects, and they will complain to you all day that the guns are the problems. Guns are the problem. It's not. It's the person behind the gun, right? And then on here, you're going to see where I part ways with some people on the right when they interview this other guy, where he's saying that there's a panel that they have, and he's stating that I guess he's a retired investigator with the New York City Police Department or He's a Nassau County investigator, detective, where they're trying to blame the guns. He's not trying to blame the guns. He's trying to blame movies and video games. You know, there are a lot of people who play a lot of first-person shooter video games that don't go out and shoot people. There are a lot of people who read books and write movies with stuff in them that there's nothing unusual about what they are, the way that they live their lives, right? And then this guy, for some reason, the right feels like that it's okay to go ahead and say these things without qualifying it, like the psychiatrist that's on this panel does. But he never clarifies it. So I'm going to play this real quick.
Not just a school problem, it's a cultural problem.
It's interesting to listen to them attack the Second Amendment and never attack the First Amendment, which is...
So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. They're attacking the First Amendment every fucking day. The left, that's who he's referring to. If you watch the whole clip. That's who he's referring to. He's referring to the left never attacking the First Amendment. They won't let you say words. This guy, I don't know what this guy's talking about. But, I mean, he's not an idiot. You know, he makes a decent argument. And the point about video games and books and movies that he's going to make here, I will try to clarify that.
Probably abused on a daily basis with the distribution of video games and some of the movies that teach our children that the resolution to conflict and injustice is the implementation of firearms.
So, in the long run, nobody teaches your children but you. So if you have, if you buy your child a first-person shooter game and make that their babysitter, that's going to be a fucking problem, okay? The first-person shooter game should not be your child's babysitter or filter that information comes into them through. You should be that filter. You should be able to explain to your child, if you're going to let them use that technology or play those games or watch that movie, you are responsible for the way that they react to it, right? You need to tell your child, this is not normal. This isn't the exact right way to go about this. It's a movie. It's fiction. It's a video game. You're not actually killing people. This is why hunting is important in families, which is what the psychiatrist was hinting at earlier when I watched the whole interview. The psychiatrist is saying that families are destroyed. There are a lot of people growing up in incomplete families where there's nobody there to tell them, listen, you shouldn't be doing that. Again, you should be your child's filter. It's not the game, right? It's not the book. It's not the movie. If you allow your child to use those things, you should be able to explain to them that that's not the normal way to cope for things. And if you have a child with a mental disorder or a learning disability, I agree with this guy. Maybe that's not the best thing to teach them because maybe they don't have a full, complete grasp on reality. Now, granted, there are some Down syndrome people who are very smart. But if you have a psychiatric condition or a learning disability or some problem processing information, then perhaps that's not the way to go with your child. But you can't take a regular child even and give them a first-person shooter game and not try to filter that out or at least explain to them, this isn't normal, this isn't really what you should be doing. Grand Theft Auto is, you're going to get into a life of crime. Like, these people really get arrested in real life. Sometimes they get away if you're affiliated with a gigantic, mafia organization or something like that. Maybe you'll be able to get away, but eventually, in the long run, it's bad for your karma. Again, so two things. This is a mainstream media outlet, Fox News. And so you might ask, well, how come you never show any? And then yesterday's video was from OAN. Well, how come you never show any liberal news outlets, quote unquote liberal news outlets? Well, because I know what they're saying over there. They're saying that guns get up and walk around and shoot themselves. Now, God forbid that you pray to a God that you can't see, yet they can constantly make a fucking gun get up and move around on its own and shoot itself, right? It doesn't make any sense. So this is why, again, a lot of times it's neocons that are pushing this anti-First Amendment stuff, but the left is joining in on that, and they're starting to get unified if you watch this. But the doctor there, the psychiatrist, points out it's not necessarily any of these things other than the fact that there's been a general degradation of the family and just teaching from the family perspective. So anyway, that's the video for today. You guys, good luck, my fellow Americans, and God bless you.